The quiet room. At 4:07 a.m., my youngest daughter texted 3 words from her dorm room in Austin. Mom, he won't leave. There are messages that wake you, and there are messages that rearrange your bloodstream. This was the second kind. I was already half awake. Mothers of daughters live in a permanent state of light sleep. The phone lit the dark room. My heart began pounding before my brain caught up. I called her. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. Then another text came. He says I owe him a conversation. I was out of bed before I finished reading. I had spent 15 years as a crisis counselor and consultant for university safety programs. I'd trained campus police officers across 3 states. I knew the scripts. I knew the escalation ladder. I knew exactly how quickly just talking becomes blocking a doorway. I also knew this: when a young woman says, "He won't leave," she's already calculating her exits. I threw clothes into a bag, grabbed my laptop, car keys. My husband sat up, alarmed. What happened? Ava, that was enough. He was on his feet in seconds. I'm coming. No, I said. Stay with Lily. I'll call you. The drive from Dallas to Austin is about 3 hours. I made it in 2.5. While I drove, Ava texted in fragments. He's outside my door. He says I embarrassed him at the party. He keeps knocking. Then, nothing for 9 minutes. 9 minutes is an eternity when you've listened to as many 911 recordings as I have. I called campus police from the highway. This is Dr. Mara Ellison, I said. My daughter is in Westbrook Hall, 3rd floor. There's a male student refusing to leave her doorway. She's expressed fear. The dispatches sounded calm. Too calm. We have an officer en route. Is he inside the room? No, ma'am. Is he preventing her from exiting? I'm not sure. Then find out. The campus at the University of Texas at Austin was quiet when I arrived. Dawn hadn't broken yet. The orange streetlights made everything look staged. 2 campus police officers stood in the hallway outside Ava's dorm room. And they were talking to him. He stood there in a university hoodie, hands open in a harmless gesture, voice soft and injured. I'm just worried about her, he was saying. She had too much to drink. She gets dramatic. One officer nodded sympathetically. She locked me out. I was trying to make sure she's okay. They didn't see me approach, but I saw everything. The positioning, the way his body was angled toward them, not toward the door. The way he controlled the narrative first. I'd taught this scenario in training rooms dozens of times. Whoever speaks first often shapes the response. He says she's drunk and hysterical, one officer told me as I stepped into the light. Claims she locked him in earlier. I looked at him, then at the door, then at Evan. Yes, I knew his name already. Ava had mentioned him twice before. Resident assistant, pre-law, nice guy. They're always nice guys. I knocked once. Ava. It's Mom. The door opened in 2 seconds. Her lip was split. Her left eye was swelling, and there was fear in her face I had only seen once before, when she was 5 and got separated from me in a grocery store. Step aside, I said gently. ... I walked in. Evan tried to follow. I blocked him with my arm without looking at him. No. He attempted a laugh. I was just explaining. I turned to the officers. Visible injury, I said evenly. Unwanted presence. Repeated refusal to leave. This is no longer a conversation. They hesitated. Because he wore the raw badge. Because he was articulate. Because he didn't look like what they expected. Ma'am, one officer began, we're just trying to understand. Understand what? I asked. That he's in violation of university housing policy? That he's trespassing? That she has a reasonable fear of imminent harm? Evan's composure flickered. She gets like this, he insisted. She twists things. Classic. I stepped aside so the officers could see her face clearly. She needs medical attention. And he needs to be detained while you determine probable cause. The younger officer shifted uncomfortably. Are you an attorney? I train the people who train you. Silence. Then I added, calmly, read Texas Penal Code Section 9.32 and make the correct call. 4 minutes later, Evan was in handcuffs. He didn't protest loudly. That's another pattern. Men like him believe they can fix it later. In the report, in the hearing, with their reputation, as they led him down the hallway, he finally looked at Ava. Not with remorse, with irritation. "You're blowing this up," he said. I stepped between them. "No," I said quietly. "You did." At the emergency room, the fluorescent lights made everything feel unreal. The nurse documented the injuries. Split lip, bruising on the wrist, early swelling around the orbital bone. "Did he hit you?" I asked gently once we were alone. She nodded. "When you told him to leave?" Another nod. "I thought if I kept my voice calm, he would calm down," she whispered. That sentence nearly broke me. I'd taught her to de-escalate, to use measured tones, to avoid shaming language. And here she was, using those skills on someone who had already decided not to listen. "You did everything right," I said firmly. By mid-morning, word had spread. Anra arrested. In Westbrook Hall. Students whispered in clusters. Some defended him. "He's so helpful. He tutors freshmen. He would never." That phrase is a virus. It spreads faster than facts. University administrators requested a meeting. I agreed. Not because I needed reassurance, but because they needed clarity. The dean folded her hands carefully. "We take these allegations seriously." "Good," I replied. "We'll conduct an internal review. You'll also preserve hallway footage from 3:30 to 4:15 a.m. before it disappears." Her expression tightened. "Of course. And you'll ensure he has no contact with her, directly or indirectly, including through mutual friends. We have policies." "I know your policies. I helped draft similar ones." Silence again. "I don't want this buried under reputation management," I added. "It won't be." I held her gaze until she looked away first. That evening, Ava finally cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet, exhausted tears. "I thought no one would believe me," she whispered. "He's the RA. Everyone likes him." I held her hand carefully to avoid the four. "They don't have to like him," I said. "They have to follow the law." She looked at me. "And if they don't, then they answer to me." The video footage confirmed everything. Evan pounding on the door, blocking her when she tried to step into the hallway, grabbing her wrist the moment she tried to close the door, and he forced it open. The officer's tone changed when they saw it. The district attorney filed misdemeanor assault charges, not a felony, because first offenses rarely are. But it was enough. Enough for a protective order. Enough for termination from his raw position. Enough to create a record. The hearing was 2 weeks later. He arrived with an attorney and a carefully composed expression. Ava's voice shook slightly during testimony, but she didn't falter. The judge reviewed the images of her injuries, reviewed the footage, then signed the protective order without hesitation. Evan's jaw tightened. Consequences rarely look dramatic. They look administrative. Paperwork, restrictions, loss of privileges. But they matter. The quiet room came later. That's what Ava started calling the counseling office. The quiet room. A place where she could sit without explaining herself, where someone believed her without requiring a performance. Healing isn't loud. It's incremental. She began sleeping again, eating normally, laughing, cautiously at first. A month later, another mother emailed me. Her daughter had experienced something similar, but she hadn't reported it. "Is it worth it?" the mother asked. I stared at the screen. Yes, it's worth it. Even when it's messy. Even when people whisper. Even when the outcome isn't dramatic. Because silence protects patterns. Reports interrupt them. On my last night in Austin before driving home, Ava and I walked across campus. The air was warm. Students lounged on the grass like nothing terrible had ever happened there. She stopped near the dorm entrance. "I was so scared," she admitted. "I know." I kept thinking, maybe I overreacted. I faced her fully. You trusted your instincts. She nodded slowly. That's not overreacting. That's surviving. 6 months later, I received a notice. Evan had violated the protective order by messaging her through a third party. That arrogance again. The belief that rules are suggestions. The court extended the order. Stricter terms. Judges do not appreciate being ignored. By spring, Ava's eye had healed completely. But the lesson remained. She switched majors from communications to social work. I want to sit in the quiet room for someone else someday, she told me. I didn't cry. Not in front of her. But later, alone in my kitchen, I did. Not because she'd been hurt, but because she'd turned hurt into direction. People sometimes ask if I regret teaching my daughters so much about danger. If it made them afraid, it didn't. It made them literate. There is a difference. Fear shrinks you. Literacy equips you. That night at 4:07 a.m., my daughter didn't freeze. She texted. 3 words. Clear, direct, actionable. And because of that, she wasn't alone in the hallway with someone who believed charm outweighed consent. The quiet room still exists. Not just on campus, but in every space where someone is believed the first time. Where visible injury isn't minimized. Where policy isn't used to stall justice. Where mothers don't have to quote penal codes to get attention. I still train officers. But now I begin with a different slide. It isn't statistics. It isn't legal language. It's a single sentence in bold. When she says he won't leave, that's the emergency. Last week, Ava texted again at 4:07 a.m. My heart jolted. But this time the message read, Mom, I got the internship. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I called her. She answered on the first ring. Her voice was steady, confident, alive. And that's the thing about the quiet room. It isn't where fear ends. It's where strength begins.